Commander Jake Morrison walked slowly across the metal floor of the space station. His boots made soft clicking sounds as he moved toward the big window that looked out into space. The space station called New Horizon was floating high above Earth, and Jake had been its commander for 3 years now. But in all that time, he had never seen anything like what was happening today. Outside the window, a strange ship hung in the darkness. It was not like any human ship Jake had ever seen. The alien vessel was long and curved, with a surface that seemed to change color from silver to blue to green as it moved. The ship was beautiful, but it was also keeping its distance from Earth. For 3 weeks now, it had stayed far away, near the asteroid belt where chunks of rock floated between Mars and Jupiter. Jake pressed his hand against the cool glass of the window. Earth looked so peaceful from up here, with its blue oceans and white clouds swirling around. It was hard to believe that something was wrong, but Jake could feel it in his bones. Something was very wrong. "Commander Morrison?" A voice called from behind him. Jake turned around to see Dr. Lisa Hayes walking toward him. She was carrying a tablet computer and had a worried look on her face. Lisa was the best scientist on the station, and she knew more about alien life than anyone else Jake had ever met. If Lisa was worried, then everyone should be worried. "What is it, Lisa?" "They are still sending the same message," Lisa said, holding up her tablet. "The aliens will not come any closer to Earth. They keep saying that Earth has things living on it that humans do not know about." Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. What kind of things? "They will not say exactly," Lisa replied. "But they keep using words like guardians and watchers. They say that humans are not the only ones who live on Earth." Jake looked back out the window at the alien ship. The beings inside called themselves the Valthani, and they had been traveling through space for millions of years. If a species that old was afraid to come near Earth, then what did that mean for humanity? "Have you tried asking them to explain?" Jake asked. "Many times," Lisa said. "But they will only talk to us through radio signals. They refuse to come closer, or even send a small ship to meet us. Their leader, who calls himself Ambassador Zethkar, says that his people learned long ago never to set foot on Earth." Jake walked over to the communication desk where other crew members were working. Lieutenant Bobby Turner was wearing headphones and typing on a keyboard. He looked up when Jake approached. "Any new messages from the aliens, Bobby?" Jake asked. "Yes, sir," Bobby said, taking off his headphones. "The ambassador just sent another transmission. He says that his people have records about Earth going back millions of years. According to their history, Earth has always been protected by beings that are much older and more powerful than humans." "Protected by what?" Jake asked. "He will not say exactly," Bobby replied. "But he keeps warning us that we should be careful. He says that the real owners of Earth do not like visitors." Jake felt confused and a little angry. Earth belonged to humans. People had lived there for thousands of years. They had built cities and farms and sent ships into space. How could there be other beings living on Earth that nobody knew about? Dr. Hayes walked over to another computer and started typing. "Jake, I have been studying the scans of their ship," she said. "Every time we try to get a close look at it, something strange happens. Our instruments stop working correctly or the readings make no sense." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. "Look at this," Lisa said, pointing to her screen. "When we scan their ship, we should be able to see inside it and count how many aliens are aboard. But instead, we get readings that say the ship is both empty and full at the same time. It is like something is protecting them from our sensors." Jake studied the strange readings on the screen. The numbers kept changing, and none of them made sense. It was like trying to measure something that was not really there. "Maybe their technology is just more advanced than ours," Jake suggested. "Maybe," Lisa said. "But I have been thinking about what the ambassador said. What if there really are other beings on Earth that we do not know about? What if they have been there all along, hiding from us?" Jake did not want to believe it, but the evidence was getting harder to ignore. The Valthani were clearly afraid of something, and they had been traveling through space longer than humans had existed. They must have seen many dangerous things in their millions of years of exploration. If Earth scared them, then there had to be a good reason. "Sir?" Bobby called out. "We are getting another transmission from the alien ship." Jake walked back to the communication desk. "Put it on the speakers," he said. A strange voice filled the room. It sounded like it was coming from very far away, even though the alien ship was relatively close. The voice was deep and had an odd musical quality. "To it, Human Commander Morrison," the voice said. "This is Ambassador Zethkar of the Valthani. We must speak with you about your planet." "I am here, Ambassador," Jake said into the microphone. "Why will you not come closer to Earth?" There was a long pause before the alien replied. "Because we know what lives there, Commander. Your species may have forgotten, but we have not. The Deep Ones have been the true guardians of your world since before your son was young. They allow your kind to live and grow, but they do not welcome strangers." "Deep Ones?" Jake asked. "What are you talking about?" "Ancient beings, Commander. Older than my people, older than most stars. They sleep in the deepest parts of your oceans, and they watch over your planet. Long ago, when my people were young, we encountered them. They warned us never to approach Earth without permission." Jake felt his heart beating faster. "Are you saying that there are aliens living on Earth right now?" "Not aliens, Commander. The original inhabitants. Your species evolved under their protection, but you have forgotten they exist. They prefer it that way." Lisa was typing quickly on her computer, trying to record everything the ambassador said. Jake could see that she was as shocked as he was. "If these beings are real," Jake said, "then why have we never seen them?" "Because they do not wish to be seen," the ambassador replied. "But they are always watching. Every time your species has faced a great danger, they have protected you. Every asteroid that should have destroyed your world, every plague that should have killed you all, every war that should have ended your civilization, they have guided you through it all." Jake felt dizzy. Could it be true? Had humanity been living under the protection of ancient beings all this time? "Ambassador," Jake said, "if what you say is true, then why are you telling us now?" Another long pause. "Because something is changing, Commander. Our instruments detect that the Deep Ones are stirring. They have been asleep for thousands of years, but now they are beginning to wake up. When they fully awaken, they will decide whether your species is ready to know the truth about your world. And if we are not ready," Jake asked, "then your time on Earth may come to an end," the ambassador said quietly. "The Deep Ones have been patient with your kind, but their patience is not infinite. We stay far from your planet out of respect for them, and out of fear of what they might do if we come too close." The transmission ended, leaving Jake and his crew in stunned silence. Outside the window, Earth continued to spin peacefully in space, but now Jake wondered what ancient eyes might be watching from the depths of its oceans. Dr. Ryan Carter sat inside the small submarine as it dropped deeper and deeper into the ocean. The water outside was so dark that he could not see anything beyond the lights of his vessel. He was a marine biologist, and he had spent years studying life in the deep sea, but today felt different. Today, something was calling to him from the depths. His submarine was called the Deep Explorer, and it was designed to go deeper than any human had ever gone before. Ryan was heading toward the bottom of the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of Earth's oceans. The pressure down there was so strong that it could crush a human body in seconds, but his submarine was built to handle it. "Control, this is Carter," Ryan said into his radio. "I am now at 25,000 feet depth. Everything looks normal so far." The voice of Dr. Amy Rodriguez came through the radio from the surface ship far above. "Copy that, Ryan. We are seeing your position on our screens. How are the instruments reading?" Ryan looked at the panel of lights and screens in front of him. Most of them showed normal readings, but one screen was acting strange. It was supposed to show the shape of the ocean floor below him, but instead it was showing patterns that made no sense. "Amy, I'm getting some weird readings on the sonar," Ryan said. "The ocean floor looks like it has structures on it, but that should not be possible at this depth." "What kind of structures?" Amy asked. Ryan studied the screen more carefully. The patterns looked almost like buildings or roads, but they were huge. Much bigger than anything humans had ever built. They looked like geometric shapes. Triangles and circles connected by straight lines. But they are enormous, Amy. Some of these shapes are miles across. That does not sound right, Amy said. You sure your equipment is working properly? I ran a full check this morning, Ryan replied. Everything was working fine then. As his submarine continued to descend, Ryan noticed something else strange. The water around him was starting to glow with a faint blue light. It was not bright enough to see clearly, but it was definitely there. In all his years of deep-sea exploration, Ryan had never seen anything like it. "Control, the water is glowing," Ryan reported. "It is a very soft blue light, and it seems to be coming from below." "Glowing water?" Amy sounded confused. "Ryan, there are no known organisms at that depth that produce light." "I know," Ryan said. "But I am seeing it with my own eyes." Back on the surface ship, Dr. Rodriguez was working with a team of scientists to monitor Ryan's dive. They had computers and screens showing everything that Ryan's submarine was detecting, but the readings they were getting made no sense. "Look at this," said Dr. Peter Kim, the team's geology expert. "The sonar is showing structures that look artificial, but they are registering as being made of materials we have never seen before." Amy studied the data on her screen. "How is that possible?" "We know everything that exists in the ocean." "Maybe we do not know as much as we thought," Peter said quietly. Meanwhile, on the space station above Earth, Commander Jake Morrison was watching similar strange readings appear on his instruments. All around the planet, deep ocean areas were starting to show unusual activity. The Puerto Rico Trench, the Japan Trench, the Kermadec Trench. Every major deep ocean area was suddenly alive with energy. "Lisa, you need to see this," Jake called to Dr. Hayes. Lisa hurried over to look at Jake's screen. "What am I looking at?" "Energy readings from the deep ocean," Jake said. "They started appearing about an hour ago, right after we lost contact." "With the Valthani ship?" Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. "The alien ship is gone?" "Not gone," Jake said. "But it has moved much farther away from Earth. It is now beyond the orbit of Jupiter." At that moment, the communication system crackled. To life, it was Ambassador Zethkar, the alien leader. "Commander Morrison," the strange voice said, "you must listen carefully. The deep ones are awakening. Your people must prepare." "What do you mean, awakening?" Jake asked. "For thousands of years, they have been sleeping in the deepest parts of your oceans. But your species has grown and spread across your planet. Your activities have begun to disturb their rest. Now they are stirring." "How do you know this?" Jake demanded. "Because we can sense them," the ambassador replied. "Their power reaches across space. Even from this great distance, we can feel their minds touching the universe around them." Far below in the ocean, Ryan Carter was getting closer to the source of the blue light. His submarine's lights were now illuminating structures that definitely looked artificial. They were made of some kind of dark material that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The shapes were geometric but alien, with angles that seemed to hurt his eyes when he looked at them directly. "Amy, I can see them now," Ryan said into his radio. "There are definitely structures down here. Buildings or something like buildings." "Describe what you see," Amy said. "They are huge," Ryan said. "The smallest ones are as big as city blocks. They are made of something dark and smooth. And Amy, they are not covered in sea life like everything else down here. It is like nothing wants to live on them." As Ryan's submarine got closer to the structures, his instruments began to detect something else. There was movement inside the buildings. Something very large was moving around in there. "Control, I am detecting movement," Ryan reported. "Something big is moving inside these structures. What kind of movement?" Amy asked, her voice tense. "I cannot tell exactly," Ryan said. "But whatever it is enormous, much bigger than a whale." Suddenly, Ryan's submarine was hit by a powerful wave that came from nowhere. The small vessel was tossed around like a toy, and Ryan had to grab onto his seat to keep from being thrown against the walls. "What was that?" Amy shouted over the radio. I do not know, Ryan gasped. Something created a massive wave down here, but there should not be any current at this depth. Then Ryan saw something that made his blood freeze. One of the dark structures was opening. What he had thought was a building was actually some kind of enormous creature. It was waking up. The thing that emerged from the structure was unlike anything Ryan had ever seen or imagined. It was so large that his submarine's lights could not illuminate all of it at once. He could see parts of it moving past his windows, skin that looked like it was made of the same dark material as the structures, and appendages that moved with a fluid grace despite their enormous size. Amy, one of them is awake, Ryan whispered into his radio. It is coming toward me. Get out of there now, Amy ordered. Surface immediately. Ryan tried to start his submarine's engines to escape, but they would not respond. All of his instruments were going crazy. The compass was spinning wildly and the depth gauge was showing impossible readings. Then, something incredible happened. Instead of attacking his submarine, the enormous creature seemed to be studying it. Ryan could feel intelligence behind its actions. This was not just a giant animal, it was something that could think and reason. Slowly, carefully, the creature reached out with one of its appendages and touched Ryan's submarine. The moment it made contact, Ryan felt something enter his mind. It was not painful, but it was overwhelming. Suddenly, he could sense the creature's thoughts, and it could sense his. Through this strange connection, Ryan learned that the creature was ancient beyond imagination. It had been alive when the continents were in different positions, when the climate of Earth was completely different. It had watched dinosaurs rise and fall, had seen the first humans appear, and had been guarding the planet all along. The creature's name was something that Ryan's mind could not fully understand, but he sensed that it was one of many. They were the deep ones that the aliens had spoken of, and they had been Earth's silent protectors for millions of years. As the connection faded, Ryan felt the creature gently push his submarine upward, sending him back toward the surface. His instruments came back online, and his engines started working again, but the experience had changed him forever. He now knew that humanity was not alone on Earth, and that they had been living under the protection of beings far older and more powerful than they had ever imagined. Amy, are you there? Ryan called into his radio as he began his ascent. Ryan, thank goodness, Amy replied. What happened down there? I made contact, Ryan said simply. And Amy, we need to tell the world. Everything we thought we knew about Earth is wrong? Dr. Elena Vasquez sat in her laboratory at the United Nations Space Command headquarters in Geneva, staring at the most incredible data she had ever seen. As a quantum physicist, she had spent years studying the deepest mysteries of the universe. But nothing had prepared her for what she was looking at now. The energy readings coming from Earth's oceans were beyond anything that should be possible. The patterns were so complex and organized that they could only come from intelligence, but they were also operating on principles that human science barely understood. This is impossible, Elena whispered to herself as she ran the calculations. Again and again, each time she got the same result. The energy signatures matched her. Theoretical models for beings that existed in multiple dimensions at the same time. Elena had been working on interdimensional physics for 10 years, trying to prove that reality had layers beyond what humans could normally see. Most scientists thought her theories were too strange to be true, but now she had proof that she was right. Her computer showed wave patterns that moved through normal space, but also extended into dimensions that existed alongside the regular world. It was like looking at a shadow on a wall and realizing that the shadow was cast by something much larger and more complex than what you could see. Dr. Vasquez? A voice called from the doorway of her lab. Elena turned to see General Peter Stone, the head of the UN's Military Science Division. He was a serious man who usually did not visit her laboratory unless something very important was happening. General Stone, Elena said, standing up from her desk. I was just about to call you. I have made a breakthrough about the energy readings from the oceans. That is why I'm here, the general said. We have an emergency meeting in 1 hour. The world's leaders need to know what we are dealing with. Elena gathered her data files and followed the general through the halls of the UN building. Along the way, she saw other scientists and military officers hurrying in the same direction. Everyone looked worried and confused. The meeting room was filled with people from around the world. Elena recognized some of them from television: presidents, prime ministers, and military leaders from every major country. They were all gathered around a large table, looking at screens that showed the same energy readings that Elena had been studying. "Dr. Vasquez," said President Susan Clark of the United States, "we understand that you have an explanation for what is happening to our planet." Elena stood up and activated a large screen at the front of the room. Her data appeared as colorful waves and patterns that danced across the display. "What we are seeing," Elena began, "are energy signatures from beings that exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Think of it like this. Imagine you are looking at a flat piece of paper. You can see the paper, but you cannot see the thickness of it. These beings are like the thickness. They exist in our world, but most of them exist in dimensions that we cannot normally see." "Are you saying there are invisible aliens living on Earth?" asked Prime Minister David Williams of Britain. "Not invisible," Elena corrected. "Multidimensional. They exist in our reality, but they also exist in other layers of reality at the same time. What we are detecting is only the small part of them that touches our dimension." At that moment, the communication system in the room activated. It was a transmission from the space station above Earth, where Commander Jake Morrison was monitoring the situation. "This is Commander Morrison," Jake's voice came through the speakers. "We are receiving a transmission from Dr. Ryan Carter, who is still in the deep ocean. He says he has something important to tell you." "Put him through," President Clark ordered. Ryan's voice came through the communication system, but it sounded different somehow, calmer and more confident than before. "Leaders of Earth," Ryan said, "I am speaking to you from the bottom of the ocean, where I have made contact with the beings you are trying to understand. They call themselves the Deep Ones, and they have been the guardians of this planet for millions of years." "Dr. Carter," Elena said, "how are you able to communicate with them?" "They have a way of sharing thoughts directly," Ryan replied. "When they touched my submarine, they created a connection between my mind and theirs. It was overwhelming at first, but now I can understand them." "What do they want?" asked General Stone. "They want to explain," Ryan said. "They have been watching over Earth since before humans existed. They guided the evolution of life on this planet, and they have been protecting it from dangers that come from space." Elena felt her heart racing. "Are you saying they created us?" "Not created," Ryan corrected, "but they influenced our development. They made sure that life on Earth could grow and flourish. Every time a massive asteroid came toward Earth, they stopped it. Every time a plague threatened to destroy all life, they found a way to cure it. Every time war threatened to end human civilization, they guided leaders toward peace." The room was silent as everyone tried to understand what this meant. If Ryan was telling the truth, then humanity had never been alone. They had been protected and guided by beings so powerful that they could change reality itself. "Dr. Carter," President Clark said, "are these beings dangerous to us?" "They are not dangerous," Ryan replied, "but they are incredibly powerful. They can exist in multiple dimensions, move through space and time, and change matter with their thoughts. They have been sleeping for thousands of years, but now they are waking up because they sense that humanity is ready to learn the truth." "Ready for what truth?" asked Prime Minister Williams. "The truth about Earth's place in the universe," Ryan said. "The Deep Ones have been protecting us from other alien species that would harm us. The Valthani ship that has been staying away from Earth, they are afraid of the Deep Ones, not because the Deep Ones are evil, but because they are so powerful that they can defend Earth from any threat." Elena looked at her data again with new understanding. "That explains the energy patterns," she said. "The Deep Ones are not just multidimensional beings, they are multidimensional, beings with the power to manipulate reality itself. But why? Are they revealing themselves now?" asked General Stone. Ryan's voice was quiet when he answered. Because humanity is about to face a test. Other alien species have been watching Earth for a long time, waiting to see if humans would develop into a peaceful civilization or a dangerous one. The Deep Ones have been protecting us until now, but they cannot protect us forever. Soon, we will have to prove that we deserve their protection. What kind of test? President Clark asked. I do not know all the details, Ryan admitted. But the Deep Ones are showing themselves to us as a sign that our time of ignorance is ending. We must choose whether to accept their guidance and become part of the greater community of peaceful civilizations, or whether to reject them and face the dangers of the universe alone. Elena felt a chill run through her body. How long do we have to decide? Not long, Ryan said. The Deep Ones are already sending signals to other alien species, letting them know that humanity is awakening to the truth. Some of those species are friendly, but others are not. The Deep Ones will continue to protect us, but only if we prove that we are worthy of their protection. How do we prove that? Asked Prime Minister Williams. By showing that we can work together, Ryan replied. By showing that we can put aside our differences and unite as one species. By showing that we can be trusted with the knowledge of what really exists in the universe. As Ryan spoke, Elena noticed that the energy readings on her instruments were changing. The patterns were becoming more organized, more purposeful. It was as if the Deep Ones were preparing for something. Dr. Carter, Elena said, I am seeing changes in the energy patterns. What is happening? They are rising, Ryan said simply. The Deep Ones are coming to the surface. They want to speak with the leaders of humanity face to face. Outside the UN building, people all over the world were beginning to see strange lights in the ocean. The lights were not bright, but they were clearly visible even from space. Massive forms were moving beneath the waves, and the ocean itself seemed to be glowing with an inner light. This is it, Elena whispered. This is the moment. That changes everything. President Susan Clark stood at the window of the Emergency Command Center in Washington, looking out at the ocean in the distance. Strange lights were dancing beneath the waves, and she could see massive shapes moving just below the surface. In 12 hours, the leaders of every nation on Earth would have to make the most important decision in human history. The room behind her was filled with advisors, generals and scientists, all trying to understand what the Deep Ones wanted from humanity. The ancient beings had risen from the depths of every ocean on Earth, and they were waiting for an answer to their offer. Madam President, said General Patrick Lewis, walking up beside her, the military is ready to act if these creatures prove to be hostile. We have weapons that could reach them even in the deep ocean. President Clark turned to look at the general. Patrick, did you hear what Dr. Carter told us? These beings have been protecting Earth for millions of years. They could have destroyed us at any time if they wanted to. Why would they be hostile now? Because we do not know what they really want, General Lewis replied. They say they want to teach us and guide us, but what if they want to control us? What if this is how they take over planets, by pretending to be helpful? Across the room, Dr. Amy Rodriguez was monitoring the communications with Dr. Ryan Carter, who was still in the deep ocean speaking with the Deep Ones. She had been listening to his reports for hours, and everything he said made the situation more complex. Dr. Rodriguez, President Clark called out, what is the latest from Dr. Carter? Amy looked up from her communication equipment. He says the Deep Ones are being very patient with us, but they are also concerned. Apparently there are other alien species heading toward Earth right now. Some are friendly, but others are not. How many others? Asked General Lewis. According to the Deep Ones, at least a dozen different species know about Earth and have been waiting for this moment. They have all been staying away because of the Deep Ones' protection, but now that humanity knows the truth, that protection might not last forever. President Clark felt the weight of the decision on her shoulders. In a few hours, she would have to speak for all of humanity, and whatever she decided would affect every person on Earth. What exactly are our choices? She asked Dr. Elena Vasquez, who had been studying the Deep One's energy patterns, stepped forward. Based on what we have learned, we have three options. First, we can accept the Deep Ones as our teachers and protectors and join what they call the peaceful community of civilizations. Second, we can reject their offer and try to defend Earth on our own. Third, we can ask them to leave and pretend this never happened. What would happen if we choose the third option? President Clark asked. The Deep Ones would respect our wishes. Elena said, but they would also stop protecting us. Within a few years, other alien species would arrive on Earth. Some might be friendly traders, but others would probably try to conquer us or destroy us. General Lewis crossed his arms. And if we accept their offer? What does that mean for human independence? Amy Rodriguez looked at her communication equipment as a new message came in from Dr. Carter. I'm getting an answer to that question right now, she said. Dr. Carter says the Deep Ones do not want to control us. They want to teach us how to protect ourselves and other young civilizations. They see humans as their successors, not their servants. Successors? President Clark asked. The Deep Ones are very old, Amy explained, reading from Carter's message. They have been guarding planets and helping young species for millions of years, but they are tired. They want to train humanity to take over some of their responsibilities. At that moment, the communication system activated with a transmission from Commander Jake Morrison on the space station above Earth. Madam President, this is Commander Morrison. We are detecting massive energy signatures from the Deep Ones. They appear to be demonstrating something. Demonstrating what? President Clark asked. Please look at the main screen, Jake said. The large screen in the command center showed a view of space near Earth. As they watched, a huge asteroid appeared on the edge of the solar system. It was enormous, easily large enough to destroy all life on Earth if it hit the planet. Where did that come from? General Lewis demanded. Unknown, Jake replied. It just appeared out of nowhere, and it is heading directly for Earth at incredible speed. Everyone in the room watched in horror as the asteroid approached Earth. At its current speed, it would hit the planet in less than an hour. There was no way that human technology could stop something so large moving so fast. Then something incredible happened. The asteroid simply stopped existing. One moment it was there, racing toward Earth, and the next moment it was completely gone. Not destroyed, not broken apart, but erased from reality as if it had never existed. What just happened? President Clark whispered. Amy Rodriguez looked at her communication equipment with wide eyes. Dr. Carter says the Deep Ones removed the asteroid from space and time itself. They made it so that it never existed in the first place. That is impossible, General Lewis said. Not for beings who exist in multiple dimensions, Elena explained. They can change reality by moving through time and space in ways that we cannot understand. President Clark felt her heart racing. The Deep Ones had just demonstrated power beyond human imagination. They could remove threats from existence itself. If they wanted to harm humanity, there would be nothing anyone could do to stop them, Dr. Rodriguez, President Clark said. Ask Dr. Carter to find out why they showed us that. Amy typed a message and waited for a response. Dr. Carter says it was a demonstration of what they have been doing for millions of years. Every major threat to Earth, asteroids, plague, alien invasions, solar flares, they have been stopping. Then before humans even knew they existed, how many times? Asked General Lewis. Thousands, Amy replied, reading the message. Maybe tens of thousands. The Deep Ones have a complete record of every threat they have stopped. Earth should have been destroyed many times over, but they prevented it every time. President Clark walked back to the window and looked out at the ocean. The lights beneath. The waves seemed brighter now, and she could see the shapes of the Deep Ones more clearly. They were enormous, but their movements were gentle and careful. What do the other world leaders think? She asked. General Lewis checked his tablet computer. Most of them are leaning toward accepting the Deep Ones' offer. The European Union, China, India, Brazil, and most of Africa are in favor of the partnership. Only a few countries are still undecided. And the ones who are against it? They are worried about losing human independence, General Lewis said. They think accepting help from the Deep Ones would make humanity weak and dependent. Elena Vasquez spoke up. Madam President, I have been analyzing the energy patterns from the Deep Ones, and I believe they are telling the truth about everything. Their power levels are so far beyond ours that if they wanted to control us, they would not need to ask permission. They could simply take over. Then why do they want our permission? President Clark asked. Because they respect free will, Elena said. The Deep Ones believe that every species must choose its own path. They will help us if we ask, but they will not force us to accept their help. Amy Rodriguez received another message from Dr. Carter. The Deep Ones are saying that we need to decide soon. The other alien species that are heading toward Earth will arrive within the next few days. If we want their protection, we need to accept it before the others get here. President Clark felt the pressure of time running out. In just a few hours, she would have to give an answer that would determine the future of humanity. Accept the Deep One's offer and become part of something larger than Earth, or reject it and face the unknown dangers of the universe alone. General Lewis, she said, what does your military analysis tell you? If these Deep Ones are really as powerful as they appear, General Lewis said slowly, then trying to fight them would be suicide. But accepting their help might be the smartest thing humanity has ever done? President Clark nodded. She had made her decision, but she knew that not everyone would agree with it. In a few hours, she would find out if the rest of the world was ready to trust beings older than human civilization itself. 6 months had passed since President Susan Clark stood before the United Nations and spoke the words that changed human history forever. On behalf of all humanity, she had said, we accept the guidance and partnership of the Deep Ones. Now, Captain Steve Mitchell stood on the bridge of the most advanced spacecraft humanity had ever built. The ship was called New Earth, and it was unlike any vessel that had come before it. Using knowledge shared by the Deep Ones, human scientists had learned to build ships that could exist in multiple dimensions at the same time. Captain, said Dr. Amy Rodriguez, who now served as the ship's science officer, we are receiving clearance from Earth Control for our departure. Steve looked out through the ship's main window at the planet below. Earth looked the same as it always had, with its blue oceans and white clouds, but everything was different now. In the deep waters, the cities of the Deep Ones were no longer hidden. Humans could see the beautiful structures that had been there all along, glowing softly beneath the waves. Dr. Hayes, Steve called to the ship's communications officer. Any word from the Valfani? Dr. Lisa Hayes looked up from her instruments. Yes, Captain. Ambassador Zeth Carr has been waiting at the edge of the solar system for 3 days. He is very excited to meet with us officially, Steve smiled. The same aliens who had been afraid to come near Earth were now eager to speak with humanity as equals. The Deep Ones had introduced humans to the galactic community not as a young species that needed protection, but as the next generation of cosmic guardians. All stations report ready for departure, announced Lieutenant Bobby Turner from the navigation station. Take us out, Bobby, Steve ordered. The New Earth began to move away from its orbital dock. But this was not like the movement of old spacecraft that had to push against space with rockets and engines. This ship moved by shifting between dimensions, sliding through layers of reality that most beings could not even see as they traveled toward the edge of the solar system. Steve thought about how much had changed in just 6 months. The partnership with the Deep Ones had advanced human technology by thousands of years almost overnight. But more importantly, it had changed how humans saw themselves and their place in the universe. Dr. Ryan Carter, who had been the first human to make contact with the Deep Ones, was now serving as Earth's primary ambassador to the ancient beings. He had learned to communicate with them directly through thought, and he had become the bridge between human and Deep One civilizations. Captain Mitchell, came Ryan's voice through the ship's communication system, this is Ambassador Carter. Speaking from the Deep One city of Veltar, the elders want me to tell you that they are very proud of how quickly humanity has adapted to the truth. Thank you, Ambassador, Steve replied. We could not have done this without their guidance. The Deep Ones want you to know that your mission is not just about meeting other alien species, Ryan continued. You are also carrying a message to the galaxy that Earth is ready to take on greater responsibilities, Steve nodded. The mission of the new Earth was more than just exploration. They were announcing to the universe that humanity was ready to help protect other young civilizations, just as the Deep Ones had protected Earth. Captain, Dr. Rodriguez called out, we are approaching the meeting point with the Valthani ship. Through the main window, Steve could see the graceful alien vessel that had stayed so far from Earth for so long. It was beautiful, with curves and angles that seemed to flow like water frozen in time. Open a communication channel, Steve ordered. The main screen lit up with the image of Ambassador Zethkar. The alien looked like a tall, thin humanoid with skin that changed colors like an oil slick. His large eyes showed intelligence and something that looked like relief. Captain Mitchell of the ship New Earth, the ambassador said in his musical voice, it is an honor to finally meet you face to face. My people have been waiting for this moment for a very long time. The honor is ours, Ambassador, Steve replied. We apologize for the confusion when you first arrived at Earth. We did not understand the situation. There is no need for apology, Zethkar said. Your species was not ready to know the truth about the Deep Ones, but now that you do know, everything has changed. Changed how? Asked Dr. Hayes. For millions of years, the Deep Ones have been the guardians of young civilizations, the ambassador explained. They have protected hundreds of species as they grew and developed, but they are ancient and tired. They have been looking for successors, beings who could take over some of their responsibilities. And they chose humanity? Steve asked. They chose humanity because of your unique qualities, Zethkar replied. Most species, when they learn about the Deep Ones, either worship them as gods or fear them as monsters. But humans did something different. You chose to see them as teachers and partners. Dr. Rodriguez leaned forward in her chair. What does that mean for our future? It means that humanity will become the next generation of cosmic guardians, the ambassador said. The Deep Ones will teach you how to protect young civilizations, how to guide species through their development, and how to maintain peace in the galaxy. Steve felt a mix of excitement and responsibility. That sounds like an enormous task. It is, Zethkar agreed. But you will not be alone. There are other species like the Valthani who have been working with the Deep Ones for thousands of years. We will help you learn your new role. Over the next several hours, the crews of both ships worked together to plan humanity's introduction to the galactic community. Steve learned that there were hundreds of intelligent species in the galaxy, and most of them were peaceful. The few that were dangerous were carefully watched by the Deep Ones and their allies. Captain, Dr. Hayes called out, we are receiving a transmission from Earth. President Clark's face appeared on the screen. Captain Mitchell, I wanted to personally wish you success on this historic mission. You are not just representing Earth, you are representing the future of human civilization. We understand the responsibility, Madam President, Steve replied. The Deep Ones have shared some incredible knowledge with us, President Clark continued. Our scientists are already working on projects that would have been impossible just months ago. But more importantly, they have taught us about our responsibility to help others. Steve knew what she meant. In the past 6 months, humanity had not just received help from the Deep Ones, they had also begun helping others. When a plague threatened to destroy all life on a planet in a nearby star system, human scientists had worked with the Deep Ones to find a cure. When an asteroid threatened another world, human engineers had helped build devices to deflect it. The galaxy is watching us, President Clark said. They want to see if humanity is truly ready to become guardians of other civilizations. Your mission will be the first test of our new role. We will not let you down, Steve promised. As the transmission ended, Steve looked around at his crew. Dr. Rodriguez was studying star charts of systems where young civilizations needed help. Dr. Hayes was learning new communication protocols that would let her speak with dozens of different alien species. Lieutenant Turner was practicing navigation techniques that used the multiple dimensions of space. "Captain," Dr. Rodriguez said, "I am receiving data about our first assignment. There is a species called the Cathani on a planet about 50 light years from here. They have just discovered nuclear energy, and they are in danger of destroying themselves with it. Our job is to help them learn to use their new technology safely," Dr. Hayes added, reading from her screen. "Just like the Deep Ones helped humanity avoid destroying itself during our nuclear age." Steve felt a deep sense of purpose. For millions of years, the Deep Ones had been protecting and guiding young civilizations across the galaxy. Now humanity would join them in that mission, helping other species grow and develop safely. "Set course for the Cathani system," Steve ordered. "Let's show the galaxy what humanity can do." As the new Earth shifted through dimensions and began its journey to another star system, Steve thought about how far humanity had come. Just months ago, they had been alone on Earth, unaware that they were being protected by ancient guardians. Now they were partners with those guardians, ready to help protect and guide other young civilizations across the galaxy. The Deep Ones had been right to choose humanity. They had seen something in the human spirit that made them perfect for the role of cosmic guardians, the ability to care for others, to learn from teachers, and to grow beyond their limitations. Earth was no longer just a planet inhabited by humans. It was the home of the next generation of galactic protectors, ready to tend the garden of the cosmos with wisdom, compassion, and the endless curiosity that made humanity special.